Russia mocks Nepalese it recruited for war in Ukraine. Russia is actively recruiting Nepalese to fight in Ukraine, promising them huge sums of money and fast-track procedures for obtaining Russian passports, the New York Times reports. The publication told the story of Nepalese Krishna Bahadur Shahi, who went to the front believing that he would not be sent to combat positions. As the New York Times writes, the Nepalese man faced financial difficulties, and this is what made him join the ranks of the Russian army. He met human traffickers who quickly organized his flight to Moscow, and such a deal turned out to be profitable for him because he paid $5,600, and in Russia he was supposed to earn $2,200 a month as a contract soldier working as a security guard at the base as he was promised, and not on the front lines. In addition, he was promised Russian citizenship as a reward for military service, the publication notes. After 2 weeks of basic training, though he said he was promised 3 months, he was told he was going to a front-line position near Donetsk, a Ukrainian city occupied by Russian troops. He tried to protest, saying he would rather be in jail, but that was no option, since even prisoners there are sent to the front lines, the New York Times writes. Quoting the Nepalese, the publication noted that the prisoners usually drank a lot of alcohol and were hostile to the Nepalese. Shahi said that they constantly hit them on the helmets, stabbed them with rifle butts, and shouted at them in Russian. The publication added that after this, the Nepalese decided that he wanted to escape and return to Moscow, paying 4,000 euros to the black carriers. First, he reached Mariupol and then quietly wanted to cross the Russian border, but there he and a group of other Nepalese were detained and beaten. Later, Russian police showed up. Shahi begged for clemency, saying they were just Nepalese students trying to get to Europe. But while they were waiting in the Mariupol detention center, the police received an electronic bulletin from the Russian army that they were looking for Nepalese deserters. The game was over, and the Russian soldiers sent them to the front line in Donetsk. According to him, they had almost no food or water. They ate ice and stewed frozen beef, which was contrary to Shahi's Hindu religion, the article says. The New York Times added that within a few days, Russian commanders took them out and ordered them to storm the Ukrainian trench line, where he received gunshot wounds to the arm and leg. The Russians gave him first aid and sent him to the hospital, where he escaped and returned to Nepal. Recall, at the beginning of 2024, the Nepalese authorities announced that 200 of their citizens had already been recruited into the ranks of the Russian army. The country demands the Russian Federation to return them home and pay monetary compensation to the families of the victims. Russia fails to achieve 30,000 to 40,000 monthly personnel recruitment goal for army military expert. Ukrainian military expert Serhiy Zgurets said that the Russian army is not very successful in recruiting personnel in the format of hidden mobilization. He spoke about this on Espresso TV. Today, Russia is carrying out measures of hidden mobilization, which are based primarily on financial incentives for certain regions. It is believed that in general, Russia mobilizes 30 to 40,000 personnel per month. However, experts doubt this pace of Russian mobilization. The fact that the enemy has begun to increase payments to contract soldiers who want to go to war to solve their financial problems is proof that Russia is not very successful in recruiting personnel in the format of hidden mobilization, the analyst noted. Thanks to the work of the Ukrainian Defense Forces, May was the bloodiest month for the Russian army since February 2022. This suggests that the approaches to destroying the occupation forces are now well adjusted, Zgurets noted. It seems that Russia is not counting losses now. The stretching of the entire front line, the desire to engage in tactical battles to exhaust the Ukrainian armed forces, inflict damage and strikes are the basis of the Russian strategy along the entire front line. Now the Russians are betting on this. We have to find a response to this based on increasing the supply of weapons and ammunition. This imbalance is already decreasing, he added. Despite the concentration of its forces, even in difficult areas, Russia is not able to achieve even tactical success, Zgurets said. If we look at all 10 areas where the enemy is trying to put pressure on the Ukrainian defense, even in the most critical areas, including Pokrovsk, the enemy's advance is slowing down. We are now in a war of attrition on both sides, Zgurets said. The main thing is to find approaches to destroy the enemy on a larger scale in order to minimize all adversary attempts to act along the entire front line. When we talk about 2024, we know that the armed forces are focused on active defense. We need to hold our positions based on a rational assessment of a particular section of the front line, comparing the enemy's losses to ours, he summarized.